Hello and welcome to A VO's Journey. My name is Anthony Pica. This show, this one right here, is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business, sidestep all the crazy things that I seem to step on. It is August 1st. It is August 1st. My anniversary, actually. That's right. It's my anniversary. I'm married for 19 years to the most amazing woman ever. So I'm so blessed. And it's a joy coming to you and speaking to you today about a topic that I think we all are always thinking about, and it's always on our mind, and that's voiceover rates. And we're going to talk about how to rate, get your voiceover rates set up correctly, and talk about the differences in rates in places. So real quick before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Also, check out A VO's Journey Elite Academy. We'd love to have you if you're looking to start, grow your voiceover business, need some guidance with live classes every single week. 5 times a week, pre-recorded courses, a great community, all kinds of wonderful stuff. Check out that link below. We'd love to have you. All right, let's go ahead and dive into voiceover rates. And, it's always a topic that can bring up a lot of angst and, worry and frustration and things, because I think rates can be fluid. Because a lot of times in the industry, rates really depend on they depend on what we charge, of course, but they also can depend on someone's budget, and then you have to make a decision whether or not you want to work with someone's budget or not, right? And a lot of times someone's budget sometimes is not what you want to charge, and that's a hard reality, right, of what we do. And so it's a good idea to go into these things with some information and some knowledge and what you will and won't do. So let's go ahead and kind of dive into this. First, I want to talk about platforms. Okay. So, there's a lot of websites out there that you can join. Places like Fiverr, places like Upwork. I've done so much work. I've made a lot of money on Fiverr. I've made money on Upwork. There's also Voquent, Pay to Play, like Voices.com, Voice123, The Voice Realm. A lot of these websites, some of them allow you to set your own rates. Some of them have their own rates, okay? And you have to, if you decide to work on their website, you have to play within the rates that they charge, and you can't deviate. But there are websites like Fiverr and places that you can set your own rates. At the same time, those websites also too have a reputation for specific types of rates, and you can set whatever you want no matter where you go. But I do find that it's important to think about wherever you are, right? I've always been kind of like Apple. I felt like it, whereas I wanted to, have one set rate no matter where I go. But that's not always available to you if you're on websites that charge their own prices, right? And you can't decide. I mean, you can always decide whether you want a job or not. But typically, a lot of places, they will have their own rates, and you can't do anything about that. So, and then when you are negotiating your own rates off of platforms and things like that as well, you need to have a good idea of what your rates are. Now, a good place to start, I find, are rate guides. There's a couple published. Of course, we have one at avosjourney.com. That's our rate guide. And on our rate guide, I wanted to focus on, a little bit different. A lot of the other rate guides, and there's great rate guides, GVAA, Gravy for the Brain, right? Good rate guides. They really focus, at least in my mind, on the extreme expert, the person who has been around for a long time and really, has everything dialed in and ready to go. And that's just my personal opinion. I wanted to create a rate guide that included that, but also included people who were just starting out as beginners and people who were intermediates. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because, we live in a freelance gig economy, independent business owners like you and me, where it's, and it's not just voice actors, right? I mean, there's video producers, there's content creators, right? There's marketing agencies that have 1 or 2 people. and they don't have a wide budget either, and they're looking for things that they can afford just as much as we are. So I find that oftentimes, we have to take that in consideration if our pricing, if we want to work with those people. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't have to. And I think this is what's really important is, remember, this is your business first and foremost. And you will always decide, you always decide what works for you and what doesn't work for you. But I find that, as I'm starting out as a beginner, right? If you're a beginner, as I'm starting out as a beginning voice actor, I'm, I've set up my booth, and I've got, my microphone, and maybe it's entry level equipment, which is great. It's a place to start. I might not feel comfortable charging as much as somebody who has a $5,000 microphone and an entire built out studio and has been doing it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Okay. And they have thousands and thousands of voiceovers, and they have all this stuff under their belt, right? There is a difference. Just like clients probably wouldn't work with one over the other because of that as well. And all I'm trying to point out is that I think that your pricing can also, reflect your experience and your abilities, your equipment, your space, all those things. So that's why, like, in our rate guide, I created a beginner level, an intermediate level, and a experienced level. That's just mine. The GVAA rate guide, that's a great rate guide. That's been around for a long time. And a lot of the industry looks to these rate guides to determine what they should charge. But just as the rate guides say, right? They talk, all of them say they're a guide, not a hard, fast rule, right? If you want to work with someone, they're going to have a budget 9 times out of 10. It's interesting. The further on my journey personally as a voice actor I go, after years and years and do this, I've noticed, the jobs that I land and stuff, they get bigger and bigger. And as they get bigger, the prices get bigger, but there's still budgets with them. So I have to determine, the price could be more than what I'm charging, or less than what I'm charging. And how more, how less, and what is that, am I willing to work, I mean, like, it becomes a negotiation. A lot of it is a negotiation. And part of this is, if you stick to a hard, fast rule, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Just be aware that, what if a job's for $1,000 and their budget is $900? Are you going to be like, nope, I'm not doing it because it's $100? I mean, $900 is a lot of money. All right. Now, again, this is what's cool. This is what I love about being in business for myself, is that I get to determine whether I do that or not, just like you get to decide whether you do that or not. And that's totally up to you. But I feel like, also our job, right, as business owners or CEOs, right, is to make sure money's flowing into our business too. So, and what if it's $1,000, you're charging $1,000, they're charging, they have $950. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm getting at is, I would also decide up front what you're willing to do. Once you go, you check out these rate guides, you decide what you're going to charge, okay, for all the different varying places that you're going to be putting your work up at, and the different genres you're going to be performing in, what you're going to charge. What are you willing to take and what you're not willing to take? Do you know what I mean? Like, how far will you negotiate? What won't you do? How much work do you have? So I'm a goofball, and I love a show. It's no longer on anymore, but I mean, you can see all the reruns. It was called Hotel Impossible, and I used this show in my mind because they talked about revenue management, and the idea, right, was hotels and revenue, and their revenue management is that it's cyclical. Right? So meaning, like, there are times where hotels are very busy, and then there are times where they're not busy. We know this. But when they're not busy, right, you could tell that their pricing goes down, or there's more, more things included, right? Whereas when they're super busy, the pricing goes up, or, there's just not availability there. And that changes. And the idea of the model is to make sure that no matter what's happening, no matter when, there is lulls or when it's busy, that the price is trying to continuously bring in revenue. Okay. And I feel like the same way with our business, because our business is very cyclical. Okay. It goes up and down. I mean, the summer, like right now, July, this has been a tough month. This July has been one of the roughest months, I think, for a lot of voice act, or this past July, it's August 1st. But last month is probably one of the roughest months for a lot of voice actors in a period of time. But then I see a lot of them coming out of it, and a lot of business starting to pick back up too. But summertime is always tough, and it's funny, after a year of work it's hard to go and look back and remember what it was the previous year, right? But it's important to, because you got to always remember, that we are in a cyclical business. There are times where there's lots more business, and there's times where there's not as much business. Okay, so we are coming up on holiday season, and there's always going to be more business. So there's going to be more products being pushed. There's always going to be more things happening with the holidays and people getting out. So it's that's the type of business. So because of that, we have to take in consideration our pricing too. So listen, I always recommend that first and foremost, you make the decision for your business. The rate guides that are out there, whether it's mine, a VO's Journey rate guide, the GVA rate guide, the Gravy for the Brain rate guide, or whatever rate guide you use, those are suggestions, recommendations. Okay, that's why we all say it on our rate guide, because it's not a hard, fast rule. They're just recommendations. Okay, use them and to determine your rates. Okay, I do have a little tip on a side note though. Try though not to make your rates so complicated that the person you're working with or yourself can't understand it. Because it can get complicated, right? If you have 100 different ways you price your stuff, it can get really complicated. I'm just talking to you about business person. So try to simplify how your pricing process works. Think about it and use the guides as recommendations. And then once you come up with it, do you know what I mean? Use that pricing everywhere that you possibly can. But also understand that where you go, right, whether it's websites or whatever, or your own website or social media, right, that there's going to be jobs of all types of prices. Jobs that are super cheap, and jobs that will be expensive, right? Jobs that will be middle of the road, and you have to determine what field you're going to play in. And that's why I try to create a beginning, a middle, and an intermediate, a beginner, an intermediate, and expert level, because I think as we go through our journey, we play on these different levels, right? As we grow, we get better equipment, right? Our reach grows, our awareness grows, our portfolio grows, right? Our contact list grows. All these things changes. So I would, take all that consideration, use these guides, come up with what you feel comfortable with, and don't be afraid to change it. What you charge today doesn't mean you have to charge tomorrow. This changes. I mean, we all know the prices change, inflation change, but we change. Our business gets better. All right, things happen. So I hope that this has helped. Again, make sure you check out a VO's Journey Elite Academy, the link below, because this is something that you need support on as well. And whether you join the academy or not, you need a community that helps you support with these things and answers questions when you have them. All right, so it's always good to be a part of one. But thank you guys so much for watching it. As always, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you like this. And again, check out that link below for our academy. Hope you have a great Tuesday. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.